Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Robert Rivera, another episode of Who's on First, and we got a special guest today. His name is Coach B. He is going to let us know about the ins and outs of travel moms and dads. Those dads and moms that put all that money up and get up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. We salute you. We believe you are the true champions to these kids, and he's going to let us know. So, Coach B, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. If I came to you and I said, "Hey, Coach B, I want to put my kid on a travel team," what advice would you give me?
The most important advice I could give parents is that something I think they forget is that in the future your kid actually has to go to high school. So a lot of times parents they spend a lot of time looking for the perfect team that wins a lot when they really need to be looking for the team that helps their kid grow more. So I was in a situation when I was a kid where I played at a more, let's say, just a more elite little league park. Then when I went to high school, the talent levels kind of came down. So it was almost like, sure, we stood out, but it was different playing with a different talent level. So for sure, when you're looking for a travel ball team, not only look for a good fit for your kids, good coaching staffs, lots of communication, never leaving you in the dark, letting you know what the prices are right up front. And make sure you're as a parent, a lot of parents that go into these situations because their friends have kids on the team and they want to join not because of the team, they want to join just to hang out with their friends. And it's not about them, it's about the kids. So at the end of the day, you really need to just make sure you do a little digging before you just join any team for sure.
We do the getting up and I mean if we have a tournament in the weekend, how does your day, how does your weekend start?
So I have, I do full-time work on in the beginning of the days. And then for a while, for about 5 to 6 years when I was coaching, it was, 4 or 5 o'clock, I was getting off my full-time job, start doing lessons and working with these kids and doing practices. And a lot of times, most travel ball places, they'll try to practice anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 times a week. They spend a lot of time trying to kind of hone in on certain practices too. They'll have outdoor practices and then we'll have indoor practices and we'll have hitting only practice and fielding practice. So a day of the weekend would be more of like wake up early Saturday morning, get the teams together, get the team together as quick as you possibly can, kind of meet in the area where, try to meet before the field, before the game, somewhere before the game. Definitely get after it on a Saturday. Probably 2, 3, 4 games on a Saturday, and then it would be Sunday pool play, which that's what everybody looks forward to as travel ball. Getting that perfect spot on Sunday because nobody wants to get up too early to play on Sunday. Everybody wants to sleep in a little bit and get that nice little let everybody use their pitching, their arms, and that way we can kind of get going and get fresh. So the goal is to actually go out on Saturday, perform at the top of your level. So that way Sunday is a little bit easier on your arms. So we care a lot about bullpens. So we want arms, pitching staffs is very important, very important. So.
Okay. What would you do with a kid that has mediocre skill, is not really a good hitter, a good fielder, he's okay, but he wants to get better. What would you do, let's say, for a hitter who's okay?
Sure. Yeah. So right out the gate, a lot of coaches just, and I've seen this, through the last probably about 10 years of coaching, and a lot of coaches just want to get behind the L screen and just feed soft toss. And you got to build a relationship because the kid, there's a good saying going around. I'm not sure exactly who says it, but it's a quote. It's the kids don't know, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And if you don't establish that with a kid, everything you're saying to them is going to go through one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
So always at the beginning of the day, I always make sure, how's your day? How's school? Because if he knows I care about him or her outside of this lesson, then they're going to definitely take more pride in the lesson. So we establish the communication line first, that I need you to get better line. And then eventually we start out with ground up, so many people skip the T, man. Like, oh, Billy Ripken, I think, said it. The T always, it shows up early and it always throws strikes. And we never used it. And we, guys are going away from it. And unfortunately, we don't see videos of pros hitting off of tees much. They hit off of tees all the time. And you get on the tee, you start slow. I like to break down a swing. I'll record a swing, I'll video a swing, slowly break it down, find the little flaws in the swing, and try to correct that swing. But for sure, right out the gate, you got to create some type of relationship with that player. You build the relationship, it's going to build the talent.
Do you do any drills to like make it fun for them, or do you like you really, are we gonna learn something? We're gonna learn one thing today. But what kind of coach are you?
With me growing up, I loved baseball. So fun baseball with me was winning baseball. So I always coach the fact that if you're on this field and you're willing to take this commitment, then having fun is going to be committing yourself to this team, and having fun is going to be winning these games. Now you're going to lose the games. You're going to lose games, but you can still lose games in a proper fashion. You can still have execution and losses in the same sentence.
Okay.
So I teach my kids, like, we're going to go hard, and I constantly on my, my Facebook page, I always, talk about how a little bit of butt chewing can bring out a lot of talent. And if you can do that every now and then, and it's healthy, and it's not overpowering to the kid where they shut down, if you can stay within the lines, you'll find yourself, having a pretty successful team. With teams that start, your players will buy into your system. So whether you're mean one day or you're excited one day, you're having fun one day, they're going to buy into your system. And that's where you got to keep it a nice flow going, and on my actual Facebook page, when I'm doing lessons with kids, I'll actually try to create some sort of picture with them involved with it, just so they can see how fun it is when they're working hard, and now they're getting, because kids nowadays, they love the social media. So they're getting the likes, man, they're getting the comments, they're getting the shares, and they love it. I take pride in that. And coming into this, when I created this page, it was never about me. It was fully about, let's show these kids, like, baseball can be fun, but we can win and have fun, not just go out here and play around.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I started doing this channel, was because I wanted to show kids there's a lot more stuff than just hitting the ball, throwing the ball. I mean, you're talking about a game that sets you up for failure. You're talking about stuff that you take from baseball and you can add into your everyday life. If you're willing to work at it, if you're willing to do the work, baseball will set you up for life. But let me ask you another question. Where did your love of baseball come from?
My father. I've been playing ball since I could probably walk, more than likely, actually in the league since I was 3 years old. And I've been playing ever since. I played Little League, Dixie Youth baseball growing up. I kind of came around before travel ball. If you got on a travel ball team, you had to be, you had to be an elite talent back when I was younger.
Absolutely.
And then we played, did the high school thing, left high school, graduated, went to a junior college, got hurt, took a medical red shirt, went back to the same college. And I just stayed in love with baseball, because I think I realized that once I made up this in my head of just saying to myself, if I can try to shoot to be in the pros, I may not make it to the pros, but I'll become a pro trying to be a pro.
Okay.
And that's the goal that was always the goal for me. So my love for baseball came from my father. He was definitely baseball driven. I mean, he's actually 60, I think he's 62, 63. Dad, if you're watching, sorry if I butchered that. But the guy never stops, man. He still plays ball. At that age, he plays softball. He plays baseball. He doesn't stop. And so that's where I got it from, the love of the game and all the relationships and the friends that I've made through the game. It's almost, it would be dumb not to say that baseball isn't what made me.
Two things that always brought people together for me was baseball or food. As you can tell, I'm a big boy. So, I mean, it was one of those deals, and when you combine them, oh my God. But let me ask you another question. I mean, you spent all this time traveling and coaching, and why?
Oh, I think, it's funny because that question's been asked a lot, and a lot of the things that were cool about me and unique about me is a lot of parents, when they first met me when I was coaching, they would always want to know which one was my son. And I would always say, like, I don't have a son on the team. Like, I'm just out here coaching because, and to answer your question, I'm out here coaching because I feel like so many coaches in my past put in so much time with me that I'd be a fool not to give it back. And I'm a huge believer in if God gives me a talent and I don't give it back to the community, then I'm just wasting everything that God gave me.
Yeah.
So 100%, it's all, it's all God driven for sure. He's reminded me that I am, was a talented baseball player, and I have a mindset and a brain to be a talented coach and to help kids get to the next level. So, like I said, I'd be a fool not to give that back for sure.
Yeah, I was in Williamsport one time, and I had spoken to a gentleman. I think I was in Williamsport maybe like 10 years ago. And I spoke to this nice gentleman, and he had this little saying, and he said, "A man stands tallest when stooping over to help a child."
Mm.
And it always resonated with me, and I think that's one of the big deals that always, like, I always look out for the kids, I don't like these baseball players that won't give a kid an autograph, walk by a kid. You don't want to give me an autograph. I'm an adult. I understand that. You're afraid I might sell it on eBay. I get that. I understand. The biggest class act I've seen lately is Albert Pujols with the jersey.
Yes.
And it's just like, wow, that is a class act. You ever had a kid like grow up and then come back at you like a grown man?
Coaching them and their kids, and then all of a sudden they're just grown and they come up to you shaking your hand, looking at you, same height now. Yeah. So when I first actually got back, when I got out of college and stuff, I started umpiring. I was doing umpiring, and I started umpiring T-ball a lot because at the park I was umpiring at, I think we had 15 to 20 teams. It was booming back then. It was, kids were playing rec ball. Rec ball was, rec ball was still a hit. And with T-ball, that was where I seen it a lot, like pouring into just the kids, that could barely catch the ball at first base. And then fast forward, they're graduating, looking down on me because they're bigger than me. And I'm like, what? This is crazy. Like, what are they putting in the chicken, man? Like, what are you guys eating now? But yeah, man. And that's why I always tell them, like, if you don't go to college, if you don't even go to the pros, man, like, you raise yourself up to be a pro, because if you don't, I want you to come up to me when you're 18 years old, look me dead in the eye, shake my hand like a man, and have a conversation with me like an adult. Because if you do that, then that gives me, clarity that I did my job.
Right. I was coaching a 14, 15-year-old team. We were down, I believe, like two runs or something like that. We were down 8 run, I'm sorry, in the bottom of the seventh inning. Kid Johnny turned around and I said, "Listen, just get on base. I need you on base." He goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna get on base." He goes, "Don't worry, I'm gonna score." Okay, all right, yeah, whatever. He gets a walk and he gets on first. Next thing I knew, he's stealing second. And I'm like, "All right, listen, what are you doing?" Well, the ball gets by, he's standing at third. I said, "Okay, all right, listen, we gotta, be easy. If the ball gets by, I'll let you know. I can't afford you being out." And next thing I know, the pitcher goes into the full windup. And I see him like, I'm like, no. And he takes off. The kid throws the ball, my batter's in the box, and I'm screaming, no. He slides in head first, the ball is coming, my batter's going, what the heck is going on? He scores. As soon as he hit the ground, I'm 2 seconds behind him, and I pick him up by the back of his shirt. I said, "Are you crazy? Don't ever do that again." He said, "Well, you said when they go into full windup." I said, "No, there's certain situations you don't do that." Well, long story short, about 6, 7 years later, I'm standing in Walmart and I hear, "Hey," and big tall guy, burly, beard, he walks up and puts his arms around me. And I'm like, "Hey, man, you got back up a little bit. Like, what's going on?" And he turns around and goes, "It's me." And I'm like, "Me who?" He said, "Me, Johnny." I'm like, "You really, John?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, this is, my wife, and, she's pregnant." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And I was like, yeah. He's like, "Oh, remember that time I stole home?" And I said, "You know what? I'd still want to slug you for that." I was like, yes. I saw him get hit by the ball. I saw him get the bat to the face. I
Right.
saw, that's all I saw. And once he slid head first, I'm like, this kid,
Oh.
and he was just like, he goes, why'd you pick me up so hard? I was like, I was so mad at you. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe you did that. But what do you think about all this brand new technology that we have?
I love it. I think we'd be foolish not to use it and take advantage of it. I would say, be wary of some of these tools and things that, these gimmicks that some of these guys, are creating that are absolutely not necessary for growth. Technology is unreal. I was just telling a kid I work with, we do hitting lessons, and I was telling him about like it would have been so incredible when I was his age to be able to hang my phone on the fence and record myself hitting and then take it home and see everything I was doing wrong. And, we didn't have that capability to do that. And I said, it's crazy how fast it happened, and you'd be a fool not to take advantage of the technology. And like just the other day, I was watching an MLB game and they changed pitchers. And a lot of kids don't know this because they won't show it, but every player in that dugout has access to a little mini iPad. And they can actually, when they change the picture, they can pull up all the film on that picture and they'll know what that pitcher's throwing, what kind of curveball he's got, what the percentages are of strikes, all these things. As a pro, when honestly, when I was a kid, you would think they shouldn't even be allowed to have that because they're supposed to do it. They're supposed to know how to do this. Why are we doing? And not to get off on a tangent, but like, why are we doing shifts and things like that? Like, we're like, let's just play baseball. We don't need that in the pros, We don't.
Right.
Yeah, but I would think you're a fool not to use the technology. Like I said, some of it's useless, but most of it's useful. So I would definitely take advantage of it for sure.
Okay, all right. Now I see you wearing a perfect game.
Yeah,
perfect game hat. I mean, what do you think of perfect game? They've changed the travel ball industry, but what do you think?
Yeah, I love PG. I was actually fortunate. I think don't quote me on this, but I want to say it was the very first year that Perfect Game started. I got invited to go to their showcase in Fort Myers, Florida at the time, and I think I want to say I was either going into my junior year or the summer of my junior year. I can't quite remember. And we went down there, and it was it wasn't tournaments, it wasn't anything like that. You came down, you got invited, grabbed your jersey off a table. And every jersey had red, blue, green jerseys. I had the blue jersey, and that's all. It was a showcase. You played. I think we played 3 or 4 games. They teamed you up against other guys. You played. I was fortunate that year. I think B.J. Upton was there. I think Andrew Miller from the Yankees was there at the time. I think he's with the Yankees now, but I love Perfect Game. This hat actually came from. He'd be mad at me if I didn't give him a shout out. What's up, Zach? How you doing, buddy? Like, he actually bought it for me while he was down at his Perfect Game tournament. So I think what Perfect Game's doing is great. It's unfortunate seeing reg ball take a hard step back because there's a lot of kids that, and if we're being honest, travel ball is very expensive. It's an expensive, very expensive sport. And a lot of parents get brainwashed into believing that you got to do it year round, which isn't true, in my opinion. And it's just, it becomes so expensive that there's some kids that can't take advantage of it. And it's unfortunate, but I can't knock Perfect Game for just doing what they do because they're putting on so many tournaments and just, they have multiple locations now. I got to go to the one they have just outside of Atlanta. And it's a beautiful facility. They got hotels, they got outdoor, indoor volleyball courts. If you're an up-and-coming athlete, you would be crazy not to love PG.
Absolutely.
They're doing a great job, and I hope they continue to do a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on, I'm trying to get let me get the name of the gentleman I spoke to.
Yeah.
He's on my phone. I don't have it off the top of my head. And of course, I turned my phone off. Victor, you can edit all this out. This is my editor, Victor. Yeah. We can say hi to him. He likes to cut all this down. He tells me, yeah, shut up. Yeah, that looks nice. He's like, no. And I'm like, I can't believe you cut that out. So the gentleman that I spoke to at Perfect Game was Scott Harris. When I asked him, I said, listen, what is Perfect Game offering? And he was like, year-round tournaments for kids who are not able to get the exposure.
Yeah.
And they're going to have exposure with Perfect Game. And it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I mean, when I see leagues going to professional level umpiring, you know, schools to
Yeah.
recruit guys, you know, it makes me wonder, like, whoa, wait a minute, how many games are you actually putting on? And it's not only is it helping the players, but it's helping the umpires because he also has a branch that's developing umpires to help them call a better game. You'll have a better tournament. Perfect game will throw on a better tournament, and you're going to want to come back next year. You're going to say,
Yeah.
hey, the guys, the umpires are actually pretty good, you know, and you don't have that strike zone that's 4 feet off the plate.
The Little League World Series strike zone, like those are clearly volunteers. Love the fact that they're doing that, but them sometimes they can be a little bit outside.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, the strike zone now is becoming everywhere. Major league guys are chirping at major league umpires, turning on them. I've never seen so many guys turn on umpires now. Even in the little league, I saw the kid, and it kind of bothered me a little bit. The umpire made the call, and he jumped up and was like holding his head, and then he turns to the coach and he does this, and that really like. I'm like, oh, don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't do that. You know,
Yeah.
it kind of it bothered me a little bit because I'm sitting there going, here's this 12-year-old kid telling a 40, 50-year-old man, you suck. We're just going to go here and just be done with it.
To piggyback off of that, man, it's he's not learning those things from kids under him. He's learning those things from watching the pros, and the pros are doing a horrible job of showing these kids. Like, I understand that professional umpires should be better, but no human being alive can be perfect. So you have to learn to. So I teach the A word to my kids a lot. We're always yelling at, like, what's the A word we talk about? And they know, adjust. You got to adjust. You want the umpire to establish a strike zone, first, second inning. Then you ask him to just stay consistent. If you're consistently off the plate an inch, then I'll tell my players to stop crying and choke up and swing the bat. Let's go. And these pros now are doing a horrible example of showing that. They're arguing calls, rightfully so. They're outside the box. So if you had your robot umpire, it would surely be a ball. But you can't get mad at a ball that's half an inch off the square and say, like, and argue and cry about it. You're a professional baseball player. Let's hit the ball, man. Swing the bat.
Yeah. Use what got you there. You know,
Right.
swing the bat. You know, that was one of Pete Rose, one of my favorite players, Pete Rose. And he turned around and he said, "When you're in a slump, what do? There's only 6 things you can do." And it was A-Rod and Frank Thomas, and we turned around. They said, "Well, what do you do?" He goes, "Choke up, choke down,
Yeah.
step up, step back, move in, move out." And they said, "Well, you don't, change your swing." He goes, "Change your swing. Why? How did you get here? You had a good swing, right? So make yourself a little uncomfortable."
Boiling point, and I understand umpires can be frustrating. I understand that, but 10 years down the road, you could be at work one day and your boss says something to you that you're not very happy about. If you blow up on him the way you blew up on that umpire, it's going to be a lot more, problems for you than it would be when you were 12.
Absolutely.
You're hidden because you're 12. But I remember as a kid, I can remember. If I threw my helmet, no matter how bad the call was, if I threw my helmet, my dad would immediately pull me out of the game and make an example out of me, and rightfully so, because there's no need for it. Like, what's the saying that I think the Baseballism, a great company that I follow, they said, if helmets were meant to be thrown, they would have red seams too.
Yeah. Now, here's another one. The financials of all this. The getting up, the gas, the hotels. I mean, what is something that you've seen that's, you're like, are you kidding me? Somebody spent, $2,000 on a weekend.
I really think some of the things that I see, the nightmares that parents deal with the most is so I'm in Florida right now. So down here it rains more than the sun shines, I think, especially lately. So down here I've heard so many nightmare stories of parents, paying money to go to these tournaments and they get rained out and there's no refunds. You get, driving for the gas, driving, your hotel rooms are now, there's not a hotel room. Even if it's the Roach Motel, it's still going to be $100. the Airbnb has become very popular for, full teams. Just go ahead and just link up and just stay, everybody there. So, I talked to a lot of my kids, and we use the example of how much money your parents put into you, how much money they pour back into you. And I don't beat around the bush with these kids. These kids need to know that, they're not dumb. So you talk to them just like because they know what's going on. And you tell them, like, your parents are getting off work early. They're having to cut out early. They're having to take, vacation time to, to go and travel to a tournament that's probably going to get rained out, and they're not going to get their money back for it. So, and it's just, it can be a nightmare, but I can't argue with it, because if this was going on, if travel ball was so popular like this when I was that age, my dad would have went above and beyond to try to get me to where I needed to be. So financially it's rough, but I also have never heard one parent talk about, like, they'll say, like, oh, we're so glad it's over. Like, we would get a break, but give it a couple of days and they're like, I would do it all over again. So, there's a lot of academies right now that would want to cut me right now for saying this, but their job is to get you to stay there for a year. They need you there for the whole year. You don't have to do that. You can go play football. You can go play volleyball. You can play soccer. You can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to go year round and stay year round in an academy, but you do have to work. You got to put in the work. But a lot of academies, they do these things to where they'll say things like, you got to pay this fee, and this fee is going to keep you locked in. If you don't pay it, then you're not locked in. So we can't guarantee you a spot on the spring roster.
Wow.
You know what that is? That's a red flag. Just like you talked about at the very beginning of this conversation of what do we look for in a travel ball team? That I'm looking for that. I'm looking for a guy that's going to say, hey man, go play football. If you come back, you can try out again. If you make the team, you make the team. If somebody else makes the team over you and they beat you out, then you're out. That's just how it is. But yeah, financially, it's rough. It's a lot of money. Lots of money. Let me just sign my combo package. Let me just go ahead and just give you the organ out of my body now so my child can play. Okay. I don't need these fees that are going to keep me locked in here for the whole year. So It's unfortunate, but and hats off to these academies. They're doing great. Like they're working with these kids. They're pouring into these kids. And most of them, if you look into it, most of them are guys that were in the pros. They used to be in the pros, and unfortunately I didn't make it that far. I have my professional demeanor when it comes to baseball, but I didn't make it to the professional level. Injuries and things like that. I could blame it on that all I want, but it just wasn't my time. But yeah, shout out to these guys. They're coming back they don't have to do it. Like you said earlier, they don't have to open up a baseball academy, but they do because they want to, deep down inside, they want kids to get better.
Yeah. I have one academy. I'm going to give a shout out to the Robinson Academy in Ocala, Florida. And Benny Robinson is doing a good job with his guys there. He just got some sponsorship for some gloves and helmets and stuff. So his guys are taken care of. And he was a professional athlete. He played in the minors. And it's the same thing, I turn around and I say, why do you do this? It's more love of the game type of deals, giving these kids some exposure. So, I mean, give me that highlight of all these years and all these baseball games. Give me one highlight, something that sticks out that you're like, you know what, I'll never forget this.
Oh man, I can tell you just the memory one. The academy I actually worked for. Shout out to my buddy Kevin Johnson. He owns. It's called. I think it's called the Sports Barn still. So, and they're out of Pace, Florida. I really wish we'd have added a lot more talent there. I wish we'd have had a lot more talent. We didn't want more tournaments, but Kevin was coming into that as he wanted them to get better. He wanted kids to have a place to get better. And we spent a lot of years getting our butts whooped there. And I remember we finally put a team together one year and we won a tournament, and it was a 13-year-old team, and it was very memorable for us. We beat a team that had been tearing us up all season long, and it just felt so good. That heartfelt memory. But funny wise, our first tournament, we had a coach that actually he was purposely throwing balls in the game that were like the rubber balls. So like my guys would crank on the ball and they would go nowhere and it would make this funny sound. So finally I was like, I called time and I, appropriately walked out and just asked to see the ball, and I just started bouncing it on the mound, and everybody was like, what is this? And the umpire like lost it, was just like, are you kidding me right now? And the coach from the other team comes out, and of course he acts like, oh man, like those are our batting practice balls. I'm so sorry. That one shouldn't have been, in there. So I watched him go over to his ball bucket, which was a whole bucket of rubber balls. And I'm thinking, my guy, come on, dude. Like, why rip on 13-year-olds like this? Like, come on. We had such a good laugh about it, because the kid came back in the dugout and was like, Coach, I hit that ball as hard as I could possibly hit it, and it went straight to the second baseman. What happened? And I've never heard a ball sound like that.
Yeah, when I was in umpire school, they had a habit of doing stuff to us.
Yeah.
And the first week was like, hey, you can do it. Second week was like, all right, we've already given you instructions, you guys know what you need to do. The third week was, are you paying attention? Are you getting what we're telling you? By the fourth week, they just started creating pandemonium for you to see if you were paying attention. And one of the things they did to me was they said, I'm going to go out there and talk to my pitcher. Goes out there and changes the ball. So the ball was painted red.
Gotcha.
So the pitcher threw the ball, and I saw the ball come in, and I go strike. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then I put time, and I tell the catcher, give me the ball. And he goes, no, it's okay. He goes, no, I want to see the ball. I want to see the ball. And I get the ball, and I'm like, why is this ball red? And
wow.
The instructors were laughing, and they're like, we switched the ball. And I'm like, are you guys kidding me? He goes, are you paying attention? What are you doing? It was, we visit the mound. You're supposed to be keeping an eye on what's going on. The next day, I'm watching them, and they're on the mound, and they're looking, and I see it. They switched it. And as soon as they did it, getting ready, and I go, time, take off my mask, and I start walking towards the pitcher's mound. Dude, what's the matter? I said, let me get the ball. Let me get the ball. And he goes, no, I'm good. No, give it back. And I took the ball, and it's yellow. This ball is yellow. And I said, you're done. Boom. And I go over, I pointed to the manager. I said, you're done. Boom. And the catcher, who was an instructor, he turns around, he goes, you can't have to do that, blah, blah. Skip, you take him with you. He's done. I mean, they did some wild stuff to you. They changed the base runners. We had a runner change from first to third and third to first. Okay. So if you're not paying attention, you will get caught up. But that's a pretty funny one. You get changed. It's hilarious until it's not funny anymore.
So your 3-hole guys like cranking dinkers to your second base. Like, what are we doing?
It's some good advice. Hopefully, a lot of these parents, these coaches, they take a look at this, and they get some good stuff. And remember, this is only Coach B opinion. It got nothing to do with me. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, Rob, I really appreciate it. You had mentioned it earlier about some of these pros and stuff, the way they handle themselves in the camera, and I would really love for these guys to just realize their platform. Like, man, you guys are being seen by a lot of kids. Like, you really don't need to act that way. I understand taking your frustrations out, but at the end of the day, you made it. You made it to the pro.
Yeah.
Be a good example, please. Be a good example, guys.
Yeah, I always make it to the major leagues, and then I said, well, I'm going to go the umpire path, and I'm going to make it to the major leagues. And I remember speaking to Jim Evans, and he told us, he goes, you know what? He goes, you think being a baseball player stuff? He goes, try being a major league umpire. He goes, these guys are playing for millions and millions of dollars, and they expect you to get better and better every single call. You cannot be 3 for 10. And bat 300, that's not going to work. He's like, you have to be 10 for 10. We don't make the millions and millions that these guys make. You really start thinking about stuff like that. But chasing the dream of going to the pros, I wish everybody luck. Not all of you are going to make it. And just remember the lessons that you learn on the field, you can apply them off the field to your everyday life. Teamwork, having ethics, being able to adjust. Look a guy in the eye. These are things that people are looking for.
Yeah, I had a real quick, man. I had a college baseball coach. Shout out to Coach Seeley. He preached to us. The intangibles matter. The intangibles. It's the little things that drive the big things, guys. Focus on your little things. Get all their little things in order, and the big things take care of themselves.
That's right. Take care of your pennies and dollars and look out for themselves.
Absolutely. And before we go, coaches, please learn how to correctly argue with umpires. Every coach in the dugout can't argue. Only the head coach.
When you make it a personal attack,
Yes.
and I'm going to tell you the words that perk up an umpire's ears. You ready?
Yeah.
Your. Those are the words that after that you want to hear. Your umpire's ears go, and you suck.
Yep.
You're terrible.
Yep.
Personal attack. You're done. Do yourself a favor, especially if you do a perfect game. Don't test those.
I've actually called time before and walked out to an umpire and frustratedly I said, look, I'm only raising my voice because I need the vein in the side of my neck to come out so it looks like I'm angry. I know you're doing a great job. These parents are going to give you hell the rest of the time we're here. So all I need you to do, man, is just shake your head yes, and I'm going to walk back to the dugout and we're going to continue this great day of baseball. And this guy did everything he could to not laugh. Because as a catcher, you're taught the umpire is like a batting glove. He needs to be in your back pocket. You got to take care of the guy. If you take care of him, he takes care of you. We always make jokes about, I kind of wish Little League Baseball would flip the field and take all the bleachers and put them out in the outfield and have nothing so parents cannot sit behind the umpire. So we could just watch them out there and act like fools. The call will go your way eventually. I promise you the umpires will make it right eventually.
Yes. And I'm going to tell those little kids out there, guys, listen, I was an umpire and I've been out there in 95-degree weather. Trust me, I like strikes. I don't want to be calling ball. Trust me when I tell you. I'm thinking in my head, that's going to be a strike. That's going to be a strike. That's a ball. That's a ball. You're like, ooh, I wish that was a strike. But anyway, Coach B, thank you for being on. I salute you. I appreciate you.
No, man. If you could just give me a follow at Keeping Up with Coach B at Facebook. We're starting to blow up a little bit, so I'd love to create some more stuff, man, and hopefully get back on the show with you, Rob. I really appreciate it.
All right, absolutely. I appreciate it. All right, guys, well, there you go. We got Coach B. Make sure you follow him. Coach B. Rob, over and out. And what do we say on Who's On First?
Keep swinging.
If you like the show, please do me a favor. Subscribe. Right? You see it? It's right there. Subscribe, share, like, and don't forget, put that bell on. It'll ding you when I put something else on, all right?